Okay, so for today's English, we're going to be talking about habitats, what a habitat is and who lives in what habitat. But our first task, I'm going to do it as well, and if you want to, you can also do it. If not, you can just watch mine, is to draw a picture of your own house. So I'm going to draw a picture of mine now. Or just a house. Sometimes it might be quite difficult to draw your house, so draw a house if not. Okay, so here's a picture of my house. Obviously my house doesn't look quite like that, I wish it did. But why do we live in a house? That is the first question I want you to think about. So pause the video for a minute, think about your picture of your house or my picture of mine if you'd like, and think about why we live in a house. Why don't we live outside? Us all as humans live in houses, but not outside like the animals. Why is that? The answer for this is that we live in a house for shelter and protection. That's why we live in houses, for shelter and protection, okay? And that's how we're going to start this lesson, thinking about that. If we move on, here's some more pictures of habitats. You may have seen some of them before. So this is a house which you and me may live in. Here is a house in another country in Asia. You might be able to see these houses are on big wooden planks. And they are called stilts. And in this country, there's lots of rain. And because there's lots of rain, it means the house needs to be higher up. So the house starts where my orange line is. Everything underneath or here is actually stilts and the underneath of the house. The house starts here so that it's up higher, so that if it rains and floods, there's all this space under the house where the water can get to without flooding the house, which is really clever. Here, we've got canal boats. So you can see there's lots of canal boats here. Lots of people live on canal boats. That might seem strange to you and me if we don't live on a canal boat, but lots of people do, and they go between different places, sailing on their boat, and they have bedrooms and kitchens and everything they need on them, and that works for them. Some people may live in more of something like this, which is more of an igloo. And they're made in the colder countries where there's lots of snow. And that would help give them some shelter and protection from all of the outside elements and outside things. So we all live in different types of houses, but what's really important is that they all provide the same thing, which is our shelter and our protection. They're all different in how they provide those, because we all live in different places which need different things. So our houses where we live, if we live in houses like this, they're not on the stilts like this one, because we don't flood lots, we don't get lots of rain like this country, so we don't need our houses to be made higher. The boats, they don't need everything that we've got in a house. They're much smaller, much more compact. They still have everything needed, but done in a different way. Same with this one. It doesn't need everything that we have in the others, but it still provides that shelter and that protection, which is really important. That was thinking about what we need and how our houses are suited to us and what we need in our environment. But what about animals? Do animals live in homes which are well suited to their needs? Now, animal homes, I've written it in small below, are often called habitats. And that is a word that we're going to be talking about and using a lot in our English topic this term. Habitats. Habitats are where animals live, and they are different depending on the animal and where they live. But that is what an animal's home is, okay? It is a habitat. So as humans, what do we need to stay alive? We've obviously talked about our homes having shelter and protection. But what do we actually need to stay alive? We might need food. What about water? We could put shelter on there because we talked about our homes and how important that is. If I put shelter and protection, because that's what we spoke about. Can you think of any more things that we need to stay alive? I know some of you might not be able to live without things like your consoles, like your PlayStations or your Switches. But that isn't a need. We don't need those to stay alive. We just like those. Think about what you need to actually live in this world as a human. And similarly, what do animals need to stay alive? Have you got any thoughts? Have a think about that. Some things that animals need is food, just like us, they need food. Water. Shelter. And what about this one? Air. Do we need air as humans to live? I think we probably do. Is there any more that you can think of what animals need to stay alive? So here on the screen, you'll be able to see, this is a map of the world, but instead of showing all the things in the world, there's animals dotted around on the map. And what this does is show what animals live where and in what countries, because some animals only live in some countries. So, for example, we've got here, this animal here is a whale, and it says the whale lives in the Pacific Ocean. Why does the whale not live in our country? Our country's here. Why does it not live in the country? Well, because the whale needs to live in the ocean. And that is a good ocean for the whale with the temperature and where it is. What about this animal? So this is a giraffe, which lives in Africa. Why does a giraffe not live in our country? Well, a giraffe doesn't live in our country because we don't have the right climate and the right environment for a giraffe. Our country is very built up with houses and shops and things like that, whereas Africa have lots more deserts and jungles and things that a giraffe needs, lots more trees that a giraffe can eat from, and water that a giraffe can drink from in the pools. If you want to have another look at one of those, you can Google one of the animal maps on the internet. So your task today is you're going to have some habitats that look like this here, without this box on obviously. They're going to be different habitats, so like you've got a woodland one here, and you've got a range of animals, and I want you to match the animal to the habitat. So it could be a woodland, it could be a desert, it could be the ocean. You might have these animals, you might have fish, you might have birds, anything, and I want you to match the animal to the habitat. Then your adult can take a picture of that as well. After you've finished that matching task, there are some questions that I have for you and that I'd like you to answer. So the first question, I'm going to tell you, but it is on a worksheet for you to read as well. The first one is, what is a habitat? Okay, I want you to give me a definition of what a habitat is. And then secondly, the question is, how do these habitats suit the animal's unique needs? So for example, why is the fish living in the ocean? Why is the sloth living in the jungle? For what reason is that happening? How is that habitat meeting their unique need? So for fish, they're unable to breathe in the normal air. They need to be underwater, that's how the ocean meets their unique need. They couldn't live above land. Whereas a sloth, as you can see here, the sloth is hanging off a branch. So a sloth needs a habitat with trees and branches because that's how they like to eat, sleep, play, everything, hanging off a branch. So that meets their need. So I want you to have a think about that. You can use your matching exercise to help. And that is your job for today. Have fun.